Welcome, boils and ghouls. Tonight we delve into the tombs and terrors of the night, where wealth couldn't buy love, and loneliness calls for company from beyond the grave. Tonight we explore the story of the vampire Baroness of Paris. Join me as we dust off the past and explore the ancient grim.
Just east of the world-renowned Eiffel Tower in Paris, France, lay the most visited necropolis in the world, the Père Lachaise Cemetery. Opened in 1804 and home to some incredibly famous figures, the likes of Oscar Wilde, Jim Morrison, Marcel Marceau, and Frédéric Chopin. It wasn't until 1818 when the topic of our story joined the beautifully macabre setting of the Cimetière du Père Lachaise, the tomb of the Baroness Elizabeth Alexandrovna de Demidov. It was a cold February 5th in St. Petersburg in the year of our Lord 1779 that Alexander Nikolaevich and Elizaveta Alexandrovna Stroganov welcomed their daughter to one of the wealthiest families in Russia. A family that had made its way from peasants to landowners, industrialists, and even statesmen. A family to whom Peter the Great had bestowed the title of Barons of Russian Empire, a title held by all members of the family, and as such Elizabeth was born a baroness. Not much is known of Elizabeth's early years, but what is known is that in September of 1795, at the tender age of 16, in St. Petersburg, she was wed to Count Nikolai Nikitich Demidov. Born in November of 1773 and 6 years her senior, at the tender age of 15, Nikolai inherited his father's industrial empire, which comprised of mines and metallurgical factories in the Urals of Siberia. Shortly after the two were wed, Nikolai entered into diplomatic service, and the couple moved to Paris. There they would become ardent supporters of Napoleon and set up home in the Hôtel de Barracas Lagories. The couple would have 4 children, of which only 2 would live beyond the age of 3. Pavel Nikolaevich and Anatoly Nikolaevich Demidov, the latter of which would eventually come to be the first Prince of San Donato. Their lives in Paris would last approximately only 10 years, however, as they would be recalled due to Franco-Russian tensions rising in 1805, at which time they would set up a new home in Italy. During this conflict, Nikolai would finance the creation of an infantry regiment to include his son Pavel as an officer, and would then command them against the forces of Napoleon, whom he still highly admired. Finally, in 1812, the family would return home to Russia and settle in Moscow. In this same year, Elizabeth would bring their final son, Anatoly Nikolaevich Demidov, into the world. Being of completely different character or personalities, Elizabeth and Nikolai often lived apart. She was said to be a beautiful, light, and witty person, and he more introspective, constantly looking for ways to increase the family fortune. So as time passed, they had grown bored with one another, and separated shortly after the birth of Anatoly. Nikolai would leave to live in Florence, while Elizabeth would return to Paris and live out what would be the remainder of her life.
So, my pets, you might say, this is interesting. But I've heard nothing out of the ordinary here. Where is the vampire story? To which I would reply, patience. We're getting there.
A short 6 years later, at the age of 39, Baroness Elizabeth Alexandrovna Demidov would pass away on April 8th, 1818. She would be buried the next day in the current 39th Division of the Père Lachaise, behind Marshal Messiena, in a monument that was built at great expense and later moved to Division 19, where it sits today. Constructed of white marble, adorned with 10 Doric columns of the same material and beset atop a huge plinth decorated with symbols recalling the origin of the family's fortune. Blacksmith hammers, sables, wolves, bats. It is one of the largest tombs within Père Lachaise to this day, standing over 10 meters tall, perched atop a small hill where it can gaze down over both the living and the dead. While exciting, it all seems rather unremarkable, doesn't it? That is until after the Baroness's burial, when the rumors begin to circulate, and articles start appearing in different newspapers and periodicals, where Elizabeth's title would change from Baroness to Countess to even Princess. It is within these stories, or rumors as they are, where things get truly tasty. As they go, it is within her last will and testament where the Baroness would offer up a large portion of the family fortune to the tune of 1 million francs to anyone brave enough to spend 365 days and 365 nights in the tomb with her. Easy, I hear you say. But before you hedge your bets, this is no typical tomb. The Baroness is said to be spending her eternal rest within a glass coffin, set in the middle of the tomb, the walls and ceilings lined with plate mirrors, so that no matter which direction one might look, all you will gaze upon is her visage. As if that were not enough, the watcher is allowed to do no work, have no entertainment aside from reading. They are forbidden to have communication with anyone. Someone would bring them food once per day and exchange a bucket with them, which would function as their bathroom. The watcher would be permitted a 1-hour walk throughout the cemetery at night, after the gates of the cemetery had closed, but prior to them opening the next morning. As one might assume, the city and cemetery became inundated with letters from people begging for the chance to overcome this challenge and collect the remarkable reward. It's said that several people did attempt the challenge, but none made it more than a couple of weeks, most lasting merely a few days before screaming or begging to be let out. It is said that one of the intrepid individuals had even gone completely mad, while another explained the experience as having the feeling that their life force was being drained from their body. Still, even others were said to have heard unearthly chatterings and noises, as if the other side were calling them home. Even people that simply spend time near the tomb recently will report that it leaves one with a sense of unease or emptiness, and as such, most don't linger for long. A more recent theory regarding all of this is that the Baroness was, or is, as you may have discerned, dear listener, a vampire, and that the challenge was held to provide her with sustenance, be that blood or perhaps a form of psychic energy. Many will point to the symbols on the tomb of wolf heads, bat sculptures, while others might tilt ahead to the other dark symbolism surrounding the tomb that requires a more refined eye, like the date of her death, April 8th, 1818. To the untrained eye, this would be overlooked. However, with the date containing triple eights, a vampiric equivalent to the more widely known devil's number of 666, this would cause one to raise their eyebrow. Or consider that the tomb sits on the alley of acacias, the acacia plant being a symbol of resurrection, immortality, and initiation, while also lying on the path of the dragon, which the name Dracula stems from, meaning dragon or devil in the Romanian language. It's also alleged that her corpse shows no sign of decomposition, or that her coffin faces the direction of the setting sun. Yet another symbolic treat of vampiric folklore. While I'm sure Baroness Elizabeth Demidoff's life wasn't all that different than most, albeit likely more opulent as she was born into both wealth and title, the ending of her mortal coil seems to have forever pushed her into dark legend. Unfortunately, in modern times, this challenge has been sealed and is no longer able to be undertaken.
But what of you, my curious little friend? Would you partake in the challenge? Would the riches so tempt you to risk your sanity and possibly your soul to become roommates with the vampire Baroness of Paris? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you stab the subscribe button with that wooden stake you're holding. And to make sure you ring the bell so the Gravedigger can notify you when we're live with a new video. Thank you for joining me. Until next we meet, my pets. Stay grim.